What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Music Mondays.
Yo, go and ask Moody, I've been with the shits. Keep it 100, I'm doing it big. I'm about to run them up. I'm getting bigger cuts. I ain't no runner up. Every beat that I'm on is a number one. Only thing that it means is I'm number one. Game over, my nigga, the jig is up. Can't nobody fuck with the three of us.
Thank you so much for joining us. We got a super fun episode for you today. I can't wait to get into it. Let's roll. So, yeah, we'll start off with some new tracks. We got the prolific J. Cole. He just dropped a random ass song. Jermaine.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
It's called Procrastination (Broke). Very interesting how he dropped this song. It came with a screenshot also of his conversation with this producer. His name is Batman, a New York producer, not very well known. And in the screenshot, J. Cole goes on to explain how he was just randomly searching for inspiration, and just out of curiosity, he searched up J. Cole type beat on YouTube and then just went off, and he gave us this really dope song, gave it to the producer to drop on his channel.
Bro, I thought this was fake when I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and then I just saw like the views kept going up, and then like 1 million, 2 million. I'm just like, hold on, this is actually real.
Yeah, but it's so awesome for a big artist like J. Cole to do that and shed some light on these lesser known people. Hopefully open some doors for them.
Oh, I might become a producer now.
Yeah, so amazing. And yeah, I just loved how honest it was, kind of reminiscent, definitely a classic J. Cole type song, but definitely reminiscent of like some old Kanye, just honesty and all of that.
Yeah, we gotta link him up with Kareem.
Link him up with J. Cole and Kareem?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We gotta do it.
Let's do it. We probably know his manager somehow. He's Sudanese, and you know how us Sudanese niggas,
We just know
we roll deep.
Yeah, we roll deep. We like the mafia.
One of my favorite lines today on the song is when he said,
I write these words aimlessly, but not without hope that somehow I'll stumble on something that's dope. A clever little line, a thought to provoke myself and that listener digging for quotes. Hello.
It's cool how he like breaks the fourth wall and acknowledges the listener. It was a really cool song. So do you got any other new tracks you want to shout out?
I thought you'd never ask. Basically, NLE Choppa just dropped a new song called 23, and the internet is going crazy over it. Not necessarily because of the song, because he cut off his dreadlocks. He did like a whole sit down with a barber, his barber called Vic Blends, and basically they ended up cutting off his dreadlocks, and he ended up putting a video for it and everything like that. And the whole song is pretty much predicated around like New Year, New Me, given that it's 2023 bars. So Trippie Redd dropped his new album with basically the entire industry on it. Holy
yeah, I saw he had features from Travis Scott, Chief Keef,
the GOAT,
coming back.
These bitches lost.
So yeah, that's what I got for you.
All right, awesome. All right, so yeah, that's some of the new stuff going on in music these days. For our featured tracks, it is some new songs that we got. I want to talk about A$AP Rocky's new content that he just dropped, because he just dropped a second video for his classic song Angels, and that video shows some old footage.
Rest in peace, A$AP Yams.
Yeah, it's got A$AP Yams and the old A$AP crew. So definitely, it was a very cool visual. Not a new song or anything, but it was just interesting that he just randomly dropped this, specially juxtapositioning to his new song, Same Problems, where he's talking about a lot of hip-hop legends that we've lost, and that definitely sounds like the theme for the last year or so. People reflecting on all the people that hip-hop has lost, and just how like dangerous this art form really is. And I say it's a very interesting juxtaposition because his classic song Angels, he says things like all the young niggas in my crew, they be down to let it fly, right? It's a song a lot about violence, the same things that people would say make hip-hop more dangerous. And then he's got his new song, right? It's called Same Problems, and he debuted it in a concert where he had a vigil for all the hip-hop legends that we've lost, you know, just remembering them. And it's a very beautiful, heartfelt song, and I just thought it was incredibly honest. And in that song, he says some very interesting stuff like,
how many problems get solved? My product of things that I saw. How many problems get solved? In my product of things in my songs.
So yeah, I just think it's very interesting that he says that, you know, because he starts off one of the verses saying, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And he definitely has become very successful with, you know, glorification of violence and a lot of negative things in his lyrics. And now he's like reflecting, you know, am I a product of the things that I saw? But yeah, it's just interesting that he has, you know, the old Angel song where there's a lot of glorification of violence, and he just re-released it with a new video. And then you got this new song, Same Problems, talking about him, and you know, he's just reflecting on whether he has been part of the problem. I think just putting them together like that just makes the new song, Same Problem, so much more hard-hitting. But yeah, I guess we'll see where this goes. I mean, if after this he goes back to glorifying violence and things like that, it does seem like he's just, you know, contradicting himself and not really authentic. But I don't think that's the case. I think he is really reflecting on what he's done, and he does have some guilt over these things. And I think that's why he dropped that new song. But yeah, he also says like, am I a product of the things that I saw? You know, am I a product of my environment? Which is another big thing in this argument, is like rappers are just rapping about the things that are around them. So if you really want to take all this violence and stuff out of hip-hop, you got to change the environment that these people live in. Alright, and now on to the breakdown. Today we are breaking down the Precious Things video,
which is the absolute mind fuck of a video, by the way.
Yeah, if you have seen it, you've definitely at least said what the fuck at least once.
Nah, I'll let him tell, because he was over here like looking at the computer like a madman. He was over here like replaying the video and slowing down the video.
Look at this. I have 4 pages of notes.
Yeah, 4 pages, just 4 pages of notes.
I think the whole video really is about like conspiracy theories and reading too much into things. But let's see. Let's break down, because it had a lot of very interesting stuff. So let's break it down. Definitely, yeah, very, very heavy on the conspiracy theme. You know, from weird imagery, starting off with Lupe's background on his computer. I believe this is his computer. And the background is an aerial shot of the Pentagon, which automatically you're like, what, why? You know, 2 weird deformed pictures of people and things that was created by AI. And there's a thing that when AI creates these like unrecognizable objects that kind of almost look real, it just creeps you out, you know? So there's a lot of those, to like flashing 1-frame pictures of like an inverted picture, inverting the color, and like random coded tweets, things like that. The video is definitely inspired to make you try to kind of look into it. But yeah, like first time I saw it, it's interesting because it ends like, in the ending it shows like a comment, and you know, like how in some websites or like the frequently asked questions, things like that, at the end there's like a little survey, a yes or no. It says, was this helpful? And it's like yes or no, it wasn't. And yeah, it was hovering over no, it wasn't, you know, as in like, was this whole thing, you go through this whole rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, right, in the video and things like that, and at the end is like, was this helpful? No, not really. And I think that's kind of the point of the video, is that like, it's not really gonna give you any like mystical information. You're not gonna like discover some crazy new thing, but it's got a bunch of little awesome bits of knowledge in there that I caught on to, and very interesting coincidences. But yeah, let me show it to you guys, and you let me know if you think that there's maybe a bigger thing here that I'm missing, or what is happening. So it starts off, he the person doing the research pulls up Precious Things, a song on YouTube, and the comments are turned off, and he clicks on learn more or something. And I was looking at the video. I think the comments were turned off for a while because of the number of comments, and they're all recent on the actual Precious Things song on YouTube. So let's go into some fun things that were in the video. There's a part where the person doing the research goes into Rap Genius, right? And there's this guy Hyder Z, who's a longtime contributor to Rap Genius on Lupe songs, and he says that when he first heard the song Precious Things, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have heard the song, and if you haven't, please go listen to it. It's an amazing song.
But don't click up off this video. All the watch time is there.
So yeah, we did the breakdown before on Music Mondays on one of the old episodes about the song, and just like all the bars and how they all have to do with hands. Very interesting. So anyway, so this guy Hyder Z, one of the things that he wrote about the song is that it's very interesting that he made a parallel between the song and how the anthropomorphism on the song. And he made a very interesting connection about the anthropomorphism in the song.
That's another one of the moments that you realize English is your first language.
It's not at all. But yeah, so this guy Hyder Z, he makes that connection about the song and how the anthropomorphism in the song, there is a parallel to that and what it says in the Quran. And he specifically quotes Surah Yasin, the 65th verse of Surah Yasin, and in it talks about how in the day of judgment all of your limbs will testify against you. Like your feet will be like, oh, he walked me into this place that was wrong. Your hands would be like, oh, he stole this thing with me. And so he draws that parallel, which is very interesting, something I didn't really think about. And then it goes on, and the rabbit hole goes on. This researcher, he's going on, he's doing all this research on Lupe's pictures, and he's clipping pictures of his hands, doing all these signals, and then looking more into that. Another thing that he looks into is the release date of the album.
Subscribe right now so we can move out of this apartment.
Okay, so another thing he looks into is the release date of the album, which was June 24th, 2022. And then if you add all the digits, 6, 24 plus 2 is 6, 2022, 6, and it says 666. And bam, it's the start of this whole other thing. And then we have Naira is featured on the song. And Naira is actually, Lupe says she's one of his favorite artists. She's not super well known, but she raps, and she's a Sosa member, and she has some dope raps. But it's interesting because she shares the same name with Naira, who was the daughter of the Kuwait ambassador in the United States, and she was part of this big controversy back in the 90s, right? So yeah, she gave this speech in Congress in 1990, and this was during Iraq's invade of Kuwait, and our family was actually there at that time, so that's interesting. Naira, she testified in Congress that the Iraqi soldiers were going into hospitals and taking incubators for babies and pretty much letting all these babies die and stuff. But a couple years later, it was found out that she was the daughter of the Kuwait ambassador, and and that her testimony was actually false. But it's very interesting because that was very helpful to the United States to give them a reason to be involved in the Gulf War. And it's just an interesting example of propaganda, you know, and how swaying the American public perception of things is so very important to the US government, you know, because we do live in a democracy where the people do have the power, but then there is the people giving information to the people, and when you can change everybody's mind, then technically you have the power. So yeah, very interesting example of like, you know, the new propaganda. She was actually hired by public relations company called Hill and Knowlton, and they conducted a $1 million study to determine the best way to support strong action for Kuwait. They were hired by a Kuwait group called Citizens for a Free Kuwait. So yeah, a very interesting public relation campaign.
Are we sure this isn't a Third Eye Thursdays episode, bro?
I know. But on Third Eye Thursdays, we'll definitely get more into public relations. Maybe the father of public relations, Edward Bernays. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in the video. I'm not gonna go through all of it because some of it was just random, like a reaction video. But you know, there was some interesting stuff. There was you know, the one thing that he was looking into was one of the bars where he says, you were Vampire Hunter D and now you Alucard, which like I kind of guess who a Vampire Hunter D was and stuff, but I've never seen it. It's actually from an anime. So Vampire Hunter D, he's half human, half vampire, and in the anime, he actually, his hand talks to him and has its own like personality and stuff like that. So that's very interesting, you know, that another example of like a hand, you know, being a whole like a conscious being. So he says you were Vampire Hunter D and now you're Alucard, and Alucard is also from an anime, but it's also from an anime, and he's a vampire hunter that uses a gun. But also Alucard is Dracula backwards. And then in this weird conspiracy theory video, he connects that release date of 666 to Alucard and the devil, and he keeps going. The connections keep going. You know, we were talking about Kuwait, and then he searches up the flag of Kuwait, which kind of looks like the flag of Italy turned sideways, minus like the black part that Kuwait has. So like I think that's another very random connection. Goes on to some connections about Italy. Like you know, you guys have probably heard of the conspiracy, or you guys probably heard of the group, the QAnon group, you know, that was very big right, like at the end of Trump's presidency. That was apparently started in Italy by some artists. It was kind of like a troll. But yeah, anyways, so yeah, the Q conspiracy, it was inspired by an Italian anonymous left-wing art group in the 90s. So he connects that. Another thing he connects with Italy, there's some called Fiasco in Italy, which is like a type of jar, a type of bottle that has like a round bottom. There's a lot of random connections, or what feels like random connections, but are they random? I don't know. You tell me.
This is a Third Eye Thursday episode. I repeat, this is not a Music Monday episode, guys.
All right, on to more things. So searches the MIT, their motto, and their motto is Latin, but it stands for mind and hand, which it means a practical application of education. Then randomly searches the beavers and like the strength of beavers' teeth. So it talks about how that's a benefit, and it's also bothersome that they grow so much. And then that connects to the MIT mascot, which is a beaver. So all these connections. He searches up the There Will Be Blood movie, highlights how it's about a silver miner in the 1920s that was turn into an oil man. There's all these connections with oil. It's got this there's this classic game, Dinosaurs and Cadillacs, which is interesting. It's this guy, he drives around, like fights with dinosaurs and like barbarians and stuff, but it's also like part of a lyric that he says, where he's like, that's just more dinosaurs for the Cadillacs.
Yes, sir.
Nah, for your favorite album, Food and Liquor 2.
Heaven and earth is what I need. When I feel in hell every time. Man, come on. Y'all niggas don't know nothing about that.
A couple of times he pulled up a couple of articles about him promoting vaccines, which was also big conspiracy theory fuel. People are like, oh, he's a agent of the government, things like that. There was he highlights this funny comment about how it said that people were just arguing about his best albums, right, on Reddit, and one of the comments said like, Lupe pre-Tetsuan Youth was a magician, and after Tetsuan Youth he's a wizard, and just goes off into this other tangent, right? He even pulls up this book called The Morning of the Magicians. It's a 1960s book, and it's a lot of it is criticized for like making too many connections, but it has a lot of stuff to do with conspiracies and the occult, and it connects all this random stuff. But it's definitely a book about critical thinking. Makes you tries to change your perspective on how you look at a lot of stuff. And it's very influential book. Most of conspiracy theories, still quoted to this day. In the book itself, he searches hands and pulls up a couple of lines in the book that have to do with hands. One of them, it talked about like hands. In the book it said, I think I would be happier if I had a worker's hand. And it says, the betrayal of intellectuals started with the first depiction of winged angels. It is by our hands that we attain heaven. So a lot of very interesting stuff. Another part of the book also that he highlights, and it's about someone talking about that they wanted to attain all this knowledge to become a Superman, but they failed to do so. But along the way they learned about a lot of stuff about the fundamental behaviors of the human mind and the various possible status of consciousness, about memory and intuition. Precious things I would have not learned otherwise. So that's what it says in the book. So yeah, very interesting connections about these things that it says in the book and this song about hands and precious things. Yeah, but it's interesting because another thing, he got all those pictures of the hands that they clipped from his pictures, and then there's this thing about like hand signals and using the hands as numbers, where like this is 1, this is 2, this is 4. So when you do this, it's 7 because you got 4 plus 2 plus 1. And another thing about how you can show the fractions in the hand, where it's like, I think it's like a half, a quarter, an eighth, a 16th. So really reading into the hand gestures and just trying to make anything out of them. To another connection about how Kanye West was kicked off of Twitter for sharing swastikas and anti-Semitic rhetoric. And Elon Musk saying that he tried to tell him not to do so, but had to kick him off of Twitter. Onto another article about the Twitter files that were just released, which was a big news story. It talked about how Twitter, it talks about the inner workings of Twitter and how like some of the information that was censored was due to just connections that political figures had with people inside of Twitter, and they just asked them to take it down. So the censorship in Twitter wasn't just totally non-biased. There was definitely people there, and a lot of the connections and the people working there were left-leaning. Yeah, and at the end, and then at the end, he's doing all these calculations, and the calculations give you this number. He searches up this number on the internet, and it comes out as the serial number for hand sanitizer, and then it goes on to connect other similar UPC numbers. That's the barcode number, and was petroleum jelly, and it was interesting. Highlighted petroleum, links back to the oil, all that stuff. And then hovers over, at the end of all of that, there's a little question. It says, was this information helpful? Yes or hell no? And it hovers over hell no, which I feel like is kind of like this video. It's just all this stuff to learn about. Are they all connected? Do they mean something bigger that I'm not seeing? I don't think so. You guys tell me. But very, very interesting video. So yeah, I think this is what this video really is. There's a lot of random connections, which Lupe is definitely, he's known for making all these connections of things that seem coincidental, but a lot of times they're purposely put there. But I think this video is just random connections. But if you don't think so, let me know.
Goodness, are we done with that?
I think so. I'm not.
Thank the Lord.
All right, so that was a crazy video by Lupe Fiasco. I hope that this maybe shed a little bit more light on what it means, and if you find out some more stuff, let me know. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so that's been one of the craziest episodes of Music Mondays. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time, maybe learned a thing or two, maybe found some interesting stuff to dive deeper into. Feel free to leave us any comments about any music that you want us to dive into, and check out that Music Mondays playlist on Spotify, link in the description. So that's been another episode of Music Mondays. Until next time, peace.
Roots من الجزيرة but the family in Buri. Right next to المنشية جريب بغادي للكوبري. Don't ask me what's new, stop acting confused. Competition شنو, my جيت هنا to lose.